Vikram Deal, that was great because we always are. I can't speak for you, but for me, I'm always excited whenever we get the opportunity to chat with high performing real estate team leaders that really get the idea of leadership. And we really went deep into how you can hold a team accountable, how you can create culture within a team, operations, sales. Like this podcast was absolutely amazing from someone that is actively growing even in a shifting market. So there's tons of nuggets. Like, what were some of the things that you took away?
Yeah, man. Well, first off, she's just super, super cool. And again, heart-centered. Like I love people that are heart-centered and that are, as you would say, about the other person or more about the people than the homes. And she is transparent, which I believe is super big. And I believe transparency is what leadership is about. So when you are a transparent leader, what happens is your team trusts you because they understand that you are always going to share with them whatever it is, good and or bad, because business isn't always great. And business sometimes requires sacrifices from everybody so that everybody can make it on the boat. So I love her transparency and that she shares everything with her team.
Yeah, man. Amazing episode. Anyone that is looking to grow, anyone that is wondering how to lead a team effectively should watch this episode. And I think it's about time we hop into the show. You're listening to the #1 real estate podcast in the world, where we talk with real estate professionals all across North America about their wins, losses, lessons, and stories help you win in your local market. Today, my name is Cody from Sheridan Street. I am joined with Vikram Deal of the Real Estate Sales Academy. Vikram Deal, you got some headphones on. I kind of hear faintly people talking in the background, sort of, not really. But where are you at? Lots been happening in your world over the last couple of weeks. We chatted about that on the last podcast around some hiring, some firing, some people quitting. You've been going through some interesting last week or so.
Yeah, that's just part of it. What people don't realize when you start building a team, especially like a high performance team, which is what the three of us all have, or we're all gearing towards that always, is that, sometimes you get really good people and they get opportunities that you just can't match, or they get an opportunity in the actual field that they really wanted to be in. And, it's not that they want to go, it's their calling, and you have to let them go lovingly. And then sometimes you hire to fill positions which you don't really want on your team, but the person did a good job of selling you, and they got through the threshold of your answering and or your questions, and then you realize very quickly, which is why I like working some virtual, some in person, and then you got to let them go, it's never personal, it's just business. And so I think our next guest is going to be able to drop some knowledge on that, because I think she's got some experience with hiring and firing and recruiting and replicating and training and all that jam. But yeah, it's been fun. Where are you at? Well, I know where you're at, but do the listeners know where you're at? Are you in Houston? Are you in Canada? Are you in LA?
No, I feel like I've been on a lot of flights lately. I was in Houston at the Next Home event last week. We had a booth there.
Yeah.
We were sponsoring the event. Great, wonderful, wonderful people. Like the premise we chatted about, humans over homes. Just a lot of great ethos to business and to life. But no, I'm in Medellin, Colombia.
Buddy, I noticed your favorite word to use on this podcast is ethos.
Ethos. I know it is.
That is your #1 favorite word. I think we're gonna have to have a count for ethos on podcasts. Yeah. We're gonna have to have that bar we went to. Remember that bar we went to in Argentina that had the Negroni count?
Yeah.
I think we need to make the ethos counter for Cody.
Yeah, we will. Just for you.
I love it. Well, should we introduce our guest, or should we just keep jamming ourselves? I think they probably want to hear her.
I'm ready. But I like listening as well. It's pretty entertaining.
No, that's good, because I can talk forever. Well, cool. So let's introduce Beth. Beth is a rock star. She's been in the industry just like our last guest that for a couple of years. I think she got in when she was about 10 or 11. Just an absolute rock star. Has what the real estate industry would say is a mega team, which I hate using those types of terms, but it's something that people understand. But she's got a large team, 30 plus agents, admin staff, support staff, the whole shebang. She was a coach with Tom Ferry about 5 or 7, 8 years ago. She now does her own coaching. Just a super rock star. And I'm really excited to hear from her about her processes, her systems, her, what she's doing. So without further ado, Beth, I'm going to butcher your last name, but
I know.
Nordaune?
No, it's actually I had a video about it. It's Nordaune. So it's Norwegian and it's Nordaune, Dau-me-N-E. But it's Nordaune, Nordaune, like, yeah, very. People call it office and they're like, Beth, and then you feel wise. So it's good.
I'm glad to see that we have other difficult names to pronounce on our podcast, because Cody May is probably the most difficult name I've ever tried. So Beth, walk us a little bit, like give us like a high level cliff notes about a little bit of your experience in the real estate industry. Because I know you've done a lot, or maybe like the last couple of years, maybe we don't have to go all the way back to the start, but kind of like what you're doing, what you're working on, and then we'll jam from there.
Okay. I'll try to go high level because it's kind of fun to go back. I needed a job and my father was a realtor. So I'm second gen and came back and was his assistant, which basically consisted of, Beth, could you close the curtains for me? When he was sitting in a meeting and I was like, okay, I can't do this. Like, I was young. I'm still young. I was a hotshot. Like I knew technology and I had, all these big ideas. So I worked with him and I'm so grateful for all that I learned from him. Cause this is like, you want to talk about old school real estate. We used to call Tim the Department of Archives because, he'd been around since the 70s. And so I left him after 3 years, thought I can do this bigger, better, faster, and realized how tough real estate can be. All the other businesses. But I got on my feet and had a lot of success, worked through the recession, had so much success through the recession, which was really awesome when a lot of people were leaving, that I started a team in 2010 and then have been growing that since. I was at a Zillow event one time in a hotshot, well-known name, realtor from out east in the New York area was talking to me and she's like, wow, you're really amazing. Like everything you're doing is great. And where are you from again? And I said, I'm from Minnesota. And she goes, oh, well, that explains it. And I said, that explains what? And she's like, oh, well, then, that's why you're so successful. It's not the same as like what it's like, in other areas. And it really made me mad. And so I came back and I'm in a city of about 130,000 people, close to Minneapolis, St. Paul. And I thought, fine, I'm going to go prove it in another market and see if I can make it work. So I, went up there, met with a bunch of agents, got all excited, had a couple of people say yes. And I thought like, what the heck am I going to do? I don't know how I'm going to do this. So came back, told them, I'm sorry, I can't do this at the time. And then spent a lot of time working on process infrastructure and how would you kind of have a team or that concept and be successful in multiple locations. And came back, partnered, and with someone up there with a team, and have since then grown it. And that's kind of the future is really, I know Sharon, I kind of say similar to him, like just really similar with operations, process, people, culture, leadership, and super excited to get that out there and keep multiplying and growing. World domination.
It's that's a very interesting thought process, because we've heard that once or twice before in different markets, and it's so interesting.
It's always Sharon people too that say world domination.
I know world domination. It's always Sharon's people. It's always like people that are connected with Sharon. Or I'm really interested to go. I want to go deep fast. The reason I want to go deep fast is because I think there's so, like, me and Vikram have been having so many conversations with agents and team leads, and a lot of team leads that are shrinking their operations right now because they haven't set up the proper. It's either a leadership issue, it's a sales issue, it's a conversion issue. And we were chatting in the green room about just about leadership and about kind of what you've been able to create. And you mentioned to me and Vic that, it's like you had a background, working with Tom Ferry, and then you went off and you did other things in regards to coaching. Like, what are some things that, from a leadership perspective, like what do you think it is right now, or some things that are potentially that real estate team leads are missing currently that they could do now in order to not have to shrink their operation, but be able to expand in a market that is necessary? Like it's a detracting market in comparison to 2020 and 2021. And Sharon always asked the question, like, did your business grow or did the market grow? And in 2020, 2021, the market grew. Like, so what should real estate team leads be thinking about right now around leadership, around development, around sales in order to create a larger business in 23?
Okay. I love that. I think one of the things when we have a shift or a change, which we've experienced with the market, is that sometimes we continue to either, we don't know what we're doing. We want to grow. We want to change. We're not sure what. And really, as leaders and team leaders, it's time to go back and it's kind of like a stabilization period. And, what do we do in stabilization? Well, we actually need to up our communication. Sometimes we need new skills with our salespeople, right? We have to pivot and decide what's working in the market, the strategies, et cetera. Really protect the culture. Really look at sales, as far as what do we have coming in, opportunities versus the stat or the agents that we have to the operations. Sometimes we do need to make tough decisions. I'm actually one of those people where I think I can be optimistic. You think the recession's never going to happen again. And we thought we could ride it out, right? And it was August, September, October, November, December, January has been tough. And honestly, at this point, it is. Sometimes it's like, what decisions do I have to make? Ultimately, to protect the culture, the business, and what I have here, right? So sometimes it is, like you said with Sharon, yes, we always want to be growing. And sometimes to grow, we have to take a step back to move forward. But really, I think if we all thought about this as a stabilization period before we go back to growth and change, is something that I would recommend.
So you're talking a lot about reflection at this moment, reflecting on your business, reflecting on what worked and didn't work. So when you talk about stabilization and we talk about sales processes, or we talk about, and Cody and I, in the last year, we've talked a lot about, we talked about this yesterday. What is everybody in the company doing and how is that aligned to moving the goal forward, right? What would be something that, because you have a leadership team, correct? It's not just
yeah. And so I mean, yeah, go ahead. Sorry. Mm-hmm.
No, I was just going to say, how are you working with your leadership team to say, hey guys, we need to take a step back, right? In the Marines, they say slow is smooth, smooth is steady, steady is fast, right? So how are you working with them, and what are you kind of directing them on, and the departments, et cetera, so that they can stabilize and then you guys can pick back up and start to rebuild the foundation of what's next?
So I think some things, one is always being transparent. And I think a lot of times as leaders, we fear that. We think that if we're transparent, that people will get scared or leave or et cetera. But I think that also people can come up with great ideas. They can strategize, they can rally, they can come in and help us. So we've had, as a leadership, it starts from looking at the budget to looking at what we're spending on, to looking at the people that we have in sales, to the people that we have administratively. In sales, looking at what happened to some people, right? If we have lead sources that we're buying and there's not as many leads coming in, what do they need to do to maintain success or to have growth? And then other people, if it's the market shifting, going back to basics, right? That was a big thing for all of us. And there's been a lot of talk about that, going back to the database, going back to having conversations, open houses, of working for your business. Now, I think we can probably spend our time talking about other things that I know that's been talked about a lot, but so you start there and you make a plan and a strategy. So one of the things that is important in the organization, I believe, is you've got your core leaders and you've got your next set, your second tier. Again, I'm sure it's similar to military, any other corporate. And then you get them on board, right? So you make the plan first, then you take that next line and you tell them what you're thinking, even if it's for 90 days. Like, here's what we're going to do this next quarter. This is why. These are the strategies around it. And then they go to the next line or all the salespeople and work from there and kind of down the line. So I think that that's something that's really important, is to have that buy-in and that everybody understands kind of what the mission is and what's at hand. Same thing with our admin, our employees. Just being honest with them. It's super simple. Like, here's the sales. This is what it was in 2021. This is what it was in 2022. This is what's happened. Our goal, number one, is to protect the company and protect as much as we can and always be around and move forward. We want you to be part of that, right? Here's what it looks like. We may ask you to do things you're not comfortable with. We actually asked everybody to take 4 hours in order to maintain everyone's job. That was a choice. We could have let go of somebody or ask everyone if they could work 36 hours instead of 40 for 6 weeks until we got into the spring market. And what that would allow us to do. So just a lot of strategies like that. And you know what? They want to win with you. If they really like the culture, and that goes back to culture and your leadership, then they want to stay. They want to make this happen. They want to be successful too.
I love the transparency, because it's something I've always adopted, and something that I've learned from other leaders that have come before me. Where did you pick up these leadership traits? Like, was this something that you felt like you were born with, or was this something you learned? Like, how can a real estate team lead that might be struggling to be like, it's like, I want to build a team, but I don't necessarily have the leadership skills I need in order to lead people, in order to effectively communicate transparently and to inspire and motivate people to become the best versions of themselves. Like, a lot of us have come from corporate backgrounds, so we've learned these things, but some people are coming out of school. Some people, they just don't have the experiences, and maybe they haven't had great leaders in the past. So how does that type of team lead learn how to be a good leader, in your opinion?
Yeah, that's a really great question. I think that it's one thing that's amazing is that often in leadership, a leader emerges, right? And so the question is always, is a leader born, or is it like made? And then the answer is both, right? So even if you are a natural born leader, whatever happened in your life, right? Everyone's drawn to you, have influence over people, people want to follow you. You still need skills, right? Because not everyone is a good leader, and not every leader is perfect for everyone. So we absolutely need to have skills, but it can be learned. Like what you're saying, Cody, is like, can you? It's like, absolutely. It can be really simple. There's so much leadership out there. We just don't see it in real estate because ours is all focused on tech and sales and conversion and like, CRMs. If you just go outside of our industry, there's so much stuff on like how to be a great leader, because that's what the majority of the world is, right? In corporate infrastructure is management, leaders, etc. It is sad that a lot of people, 58% of people in leadership or management did not have any formal training, right? They just were chosen for it. They were successful. And that's always crazy to me. But how do we become a leader? And I think sometimes it can be as simple as like, first lead yourself. And so how do you lead yourself during this time, right? We walk the walk. Like if you're asking people to do things, you're doing it. If you're leading yourself, if you have a great mindset, if you, like all those simple things, right? I mean, that's a lot of stuff that's out there too. And the next thing is you want to just lead somebody else that you have influence over. Every single person, if you're a team leader, want to have a team, you have influence and you're able to lead others because you obviously had people choose to work with you to buy or sell their home. And that's a big decision. So you have that. So, the next thing is that lead as a leader and building leadership. But I think there's so many things, but I love to really focus too on like, why do people follow? What is important about being a leader? I think that'd be great to touch on. Establishing the culture and then protecting that and having people buy into that. That's really important as a leader, and accountability, because ultimately that's one of the things that we really need as salespeople and why I think what can really set you apart. Like, yes, people can give you leads. Yes, people can like give you lunches and do all these like fun parties and karaoke nights and whatever, but it's also like really moving people towards their goals. And it's so rewarding, right, to do that. So
I'd love to hear about the culture of success. I think that high performance people have a culture of success that's cultivated from the top, and it's then adopted from everybody in the culture. or everybody on the team and the business. So what are some of the, some of the things that you do to have a culture of success? Because I think there is, when you talk about, hey, we had a conversation openly with our team and we said, hey, everybody needs to cut 4 hours out of our team so that we can keep everybody. That is a culture of success because they have bought into you that you will get them through the river. Right. So how do you cultivate a culture of success, and how as a leader do you walk that walk as well with your team in the trenches?
I love that. And I think, like you said, so I think you're saying this, that a culture starts from the top. It starts from the leader, right? And I think one of the things that I think that's really important, and I read a book called Stephen Pressfield. It's about writing, but it's called The War of Art. And he talks about You Incorporated. And I took that chapter as a chapter title, but I love it because really ultimately, that's what we're about. People are buying into you, right? How you did real estate, what made you successful, how you're telling people to do it, what you're doing for them, leading them. So you have to be really clear on who you are. And what that is like, sometimes it's just simple. And during this time is a great time to reflect and say, like, for whom and for what, and why am I doing this? As simple as that, to ask yourselves. Like, if you can't answer that, like, that's going to be tough, right? To show up every day and ask other people. If you know, like, even if it's as simple as, I mean, in my real estate team, I'm for the people. I'm here to get them to success, whatever success means for them, right? Maybe someone wants to be a top producer. Maybe someone wants to sell, having 20-hour work week and enjoy their life. That's great. Why do I do this? Because it fills me up, right? It gives me such satisfaction to see that generational change, to really make a difference. So again, if you start by answering that question, and that's what you wake up every day to do, is that you incorporate it. You need to have meetings with yourself. You need to check in with yourself. You need to have goals, like all of those things. From there, I think I always say the second piece.
What does a meeting with yourself look like? I think that is it's a strange concept for some people who've never heard it. What is it? What does that mean?
So I did a whole class on this yesterday, and so we're not going to do it. But I actually just recently had to do this because the market shifted, right? Because things, I got myself even into overwhelm. And when you start feeling, it comes from change, right? It could come from, I'm going to talk about the big meeting first, because a lot of people might need to start there. It might be from like what we've been through, overwhelmed, not knowing what direction to go, just seriously living in the future, not present, all of those things. The first thing is to kind of start and go back to the basics. And then, right, that's that whole, like, why am I doing this? What's important about this to me for my future? Like, I have a whole worksheet, just doing that high level work of like you. Once you get back to being grounded and clear in like what your goals are for yourself, for your team, personally, in business, then the next step is to, I think, talk about then it's just maintaining it. So every Sunday, it is for me, Sunday afternoon is the weekly plan. And it's what do I want to say to my team on Monday morning? What do I want to say to my leaders? What is important to me? Where am I at in relation to my goals? What I need to do this week, this month, this quarter to make it to that someday goal. So I think that's probably the way it looks. I saw, yeah, Cody froze, but it's like in his God, but yeah. So I think it's as simple as that. And sometimes it's even every morning, right? Like setting an intention for, what do I need to do today? What's the one thing I really need to get done? What are the 3 things? And it can be silly stuff. It doesn't have to be fancy, but
right.
Treating yourself as a corporation is an easy way to have separation from ourselves and try to look at things a little bit objectively instead of so in our head of everything happening.
Yeah, it's interesting you say that because the last guest that we interviewed, she talked a lot about spirituality. And I think one of the things that I feel like it's a very spiritual practice to reflect on yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel that that's an interesting way. I think we got Mr. Cody May back in the house.
Yeah, I'm back here. Technical difficulties. Internet cut out here.
Yeah. Hey, we have no rain, but we've both been having some internet issues, which is one of the joys of traveling and being nomadic, right? So, um, when we talk about leading others, and we talk about leading a sales team,
Mm-hmm.
especially during a challenging market, what are some of the pivots you're making with your sales team? Because I know we've heard people say you got to do more, you got to work harder, you got to do more calls, you got to do more emails, you got to do more touch points, you got to do all the things you're doing plus 10x, right? Or 3x or 5x, whatever the number is for that person. But what do you, when you have people that are like, yo, Beth, or you have clients that are like, yo, Beth, I was closing a deal every 40 conversations. I'm on 100 conversations, or I'm on 75 conversations, and I'm not even getting an appointments anymore because people are so freaked out because of the news. Because Cody says it all the time. We don't combat the market, we combat the media.
Yeah.
So what are some of the ways that you are, leveling up your sales team?
Mm-hmm. And so I think you're right. Like even what you just said, like stressed me out. Like think about how that is from a salesperson perspective, and that's how it feels. I know it's all true, right? But it's like you have to make more calls, you have to work harder, you're going to have to all these things that we're hearing right now to survive. Okay, true, all true. I think it's more that business came easy. It was easier. There's more of it. There's more abundance. So it just kind of fell in our laps, and we just were actually just taking them out and getting them from contract to close, right? So I think that it really is the same conversation that you have with yourself, is like sitting down sometimes and going back to the basics, like those reminders, right? So it's like, hey, I used to do this. I think most people know, and not that you shouldn't say it, not that this isn't part of, the cadence in a team. But to say work harder, that's like when I coach and someone says, hey, I'm going to do 40 deals this year. What'd you do last year? 10. Awesome. Like, how are you going to get there? It's like, I'm going to work harder. It's like, okay, that strategy is a winning one, right? I mean, you guys have heard this. So sometimes
the Hopium strategy.
My favorite is someone one time said they were going to have a big rooftop party. That was the answer. Big rooftop party. That was going to be it. I don't know if it could ever turned out, but so it's the same thing. We all need that reset, that hard reset right now, right? So it's like, okay, hey, let's talk about it. This is what the market was, right? Let's talk about, what your experience was in it. This is what the market is going to be like for the unknown future, right? So let's go back to like, why did you get into real estate, right? Some of those basic things. What do you love about what you do? Why are you doing this? And then it's like building on that, right? You take them back to like being a new agent, to connecting, building your database, having conversations, and really just I think it's that compassion, curiosity, and also just that accountability and cheering. Like right now, I don't think there's the obvious. I love drama-free accountability. I mean, we're all pretty clear with the metrics if you're running a successful organization of like, are you doing it or are you not, right? I mean, it's pretty simple. So I think what people really need today is more just those reminders of, oh yeah, I do like this. This is going to be different, but a different market, a different way, it may not be the same, right? You're in business. There's up years and down years. So you got to look at this. It's a marathon, not a sprint. All of those things, and just keeping engagement,
I'm really curious, and I want to wrap up with this because I think that you're a great person to speak to this, because I have so many conversations with real estate clients, with real estate team leads and I've been having these conversations around sales and around output, and if you have a 3x plan, you need a 5x. If you want to make 3x the amount of income, you need to have a 5x plan, especially in this market. Mm-hmm. But a lot of people I speak with, like team leads, and even a lot of agents that we coach, they say that they're doing the things in order to get the result that they want. But when you dig into their KPIs and you dig into the calls you listen to, you're like, you're not actually doing the thing you say you're doing. So how do you approach accountability from a place of love? And because ultimately you want everyone on your organization to win, but when somebody is sitting there in front of you saying that they're doing the thing they're not doing, it can get frustrating as a team lead to look at that person and be like, why are we having this conversation? And I've had those conversations with team leads. Like, how do you create, as a team lead, accountability within your sales organization so that they're following the scripts, that they are having the conversations, that they're actually making the phone calls? Like, what does that look like in your organization?
Yeah, that's great. So I think I always want to start with, anytime we're holding people accountable, I'm going to go a little bit deeper, but always remember, in a meeting, in a one-on-one, to keep it like simple. Like, we all need simple, especially with how complex the world is, right? So we want one goal. What's one goal and one reason, right? And if you did one goal, one reason, and everyone knows the compounding effect and how powerful that is, it really moves the needle over all the things that not you, but if you're in a meeting, it's a habit to say, you didn't make your calls, you're not doing scripts, you're not doing this, you're not doing that. And pretty soon, how do you think the person feels, right? Like, screw it. Like, so I'm not going to do it anyways. This is stupid, right? And so if we just take it down to something that's simple, ultimately we get bigger results. So it's just a process. There's that feedback loop always that's happening. My favorite thing, first of all, is like, everyone needs accountability. We all really do. And accountable to who? To whom? Does it need to be you, the team leader? I don't know, maybe not. Is it their family? Is it a team member on the team? And so first, starting with that, because there are people that, in the position I'm in, I don't know if they want me to hold them accountable. I'm really scary to some people, and I don't feel like I am, but I am, right? I mean, they're like, no, I don't want to be accountable to you. That's like, I'm not ready for that, right? I mean, yeah, if you think, if you go to the gym, it's like, I want the trainer that looks like, yeah, I'm going to get a workout, but I don't want that guy. Like, I'm not ready for that. Like, that's intense, right? So I think then what it comes down to, what everyone really should do, and this is another great thing to do during this time, is to have clear expectations, which I think is really, most people do, but really then around it to have mutual expectations, right? So it's like, we all have expectations of our teams and our employees and our salespeople. But if we're not meeting their expectations, it's, I don't know if I want to listen to you or not. Like, I'm not really bought in. I'm here because of the leads. I'm here because it's easy. I don't know if I'm here necessarily for you. So kind of having that conversation about, like, hey, Freddie, here's what I expect. I expect that you come. I expect this is a new market, that you're willing to try new things, to get uncomfortable. And I want you to know, like, what you can expect from me is, like, you can text me, or, I'm going to meet with you once a week to make sure that's okay. What else do you need from me? And before the meeting, I would even say, I want you to come. And we say this anytime we're onboarding someone on the team. What do you expect from the team? What do you expect from leadership? And we're also going to say what we expect from you. There are times we are not on the same page. It's like, I'm never going to be that for you. I'm not going to, like, text you 3 times a day. I'm not going to be there to call you at 10 o'clock at night. We have to find some other way to be accountable, or to whom, or a solution for that. It's not me, right? So sometimes that's a really powerful conversation. Along with that, right, what follows it is permission. So always having permission to hold someone accountable, right? So it's like, do I have permission to be honest with you? Do I have permission to keep you on track? Do I have permission to call you out on your bullshit? Do I have permission to, to remind you of your why? And it's amazing. Like, everyone always says, yeah, 10, right? Tom always used to say that too, 10 out of 10. Everyone does. He taught us that, like, on a scale of 1 to 10, how accountable would you like me to be? And then it's just doing it. And where a lot of leaders fall short is not having those tough conversations, those fierce conversations. And I think what I even was just reminding my leadership is to remember that, like, why? Like, we're doing it because this ultimately helps them, right? This ultimately is going to get them to goal. I know it might not feel uncomfortable, but we have to all be uncomfortable to make it and to change and succeed in this kind of new market. So.
I was talking with Ray, and we let somebody go, and the conversations are tough because, there's some issues with the person getting us the right thing so that we can pay them properly, and blah, 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 blah. And I said, it's an annoying conversation, but it's a tough conversation to keep your composure on, because this person is super flaky and they don't provide the information. So, then they want, like, we asked them for something, then 4 days later, they came back with it, and then they gave us the wrong information. And then it was like, oh, I don't have this. Oh, I don't have that. And it's sometimes, like, little things add up into big conversations.
Yeah.
And then you get to a point where you're frustrated, and it's like, hey, whoa, leadership is doing those annoying calls, or doing the tough calls, or being that person. for your team. And when you're doing the fierce conversations, one of the things I always say to you guys have probably said it too is, especially if you have like a listing, right? And you have to have a tough conversation about price. Tough conversations never get easier with time. They only get harder. So the sooner you get them over with, the faster everybody gets to move on to the next step. And sometimes that means, you lose a person, you lose a client. Sometimes that means you pivot. Sometimes that means like, hey, we just were both rowing the same way. We just weren't on the same trade, but we're still trying to go to the same place. So Beth, we really, really, I know I enjoyed you. Cody enjoyed a portion of you because he got kicked out. But we really enjoyed you. Where would people find you in the World Wide Web if they wanted to send you some business, or if they just wanted to pick your brain, because obviously you have a wealth of knowledge?
Wealth of knowledge, absolutely. I think that I'm on Instagram. It's like the biggest thing. That's Beth Nordaune. Good luck spelling the name. I guess that's like, I should like come up with like something, right? Like, I think Enclave Team is our team website, but so if you think if I just took the team, and Enclave Way is the actual website. I will say, and so my cell phone I'm impossible to find my cell phone. You cannot find it out there. People say like, how do I get a hold of you? But if you send me an email, it's Beth@enclaveteam.com or Beth@enclaveway, the Enclave Way. I definitely will see that. So yes, I'd love to be out there. I share nuggets of information on Mondays, and I teach classes and webinars and all sorts of things. Minnesota Nice group once a month, and we talk about things like this as well. So
Beth, from the bottom of my heart, bottom of Vikram's heart, I want to say thank you for just sharing so much knowledge, information on how team leads and how real estate agents can operate at a really high level, how they can lead people. And I loved the permission-based question. We're really big on those, and just really appreciate it. And I want to say thank you for tuning into another episode of the RE Agent Podcast. We'll see you soon.
Thank you.